welcome back everyone to another fun game of old school Magic the Gathering. Today we'll be looking at our second video of a white-green 7-point Singleton deck. If you want to skip right to the game, you could click the timestamp in the description below. I'm going to give a very brief deck tech and we'll dive into the game. So in 7-point Singleton, it's a Singleton deck of 60 cards with no sideboard. You can only use 7 total pointed cards from this list. Anything not on this list is worth 0 points. If you want to learn more about this format, I've linked to the Discord channel in the description below and the Facebook page where the tournaments are hosted. Let's take a look here at the deck tech. So this was my way of turning a classic Erhnam-Armageddon deck from regular old school into the Singleton format. So the star of the show is Erhnam-Armageddon. This card is even better in Singleton because most people, due to the point system, are not going to be running all the Moxes and Lotus and fast mana cards. So if you wipe them out with a well-placed Erhnam-Armageddon, you're going to win the game. That's kind of been my experience with it. And of course you see lots of other classic green and white creatures here, from Grizzly Bears to Erhnam-Djinns. I do like to use cards from the dark, so you'll see things like Lurker, Scavenger Folk for artifact removal, Witch Hunter, probably one of my favorite cards in the deck that allows you to return a creature to your opponent's hand. So if you're able to Witch Hunter then Erhnam-Armageddon, or maybe put out a Preacher Erhnam-Armageddon and steal their creature, there's just lots of fun ways and combos here to win. I sadly do not have a deck photo of the other deck we'll be playing, but through the video we'll kind of walk through what some of the strategy was as we see the other deck start to play out its cards and kind of guess at what it wants to do. Let's take a look at this game. Alright, we're going to jump into the game here. A 7-point Singleton match. Player on the right starting out with an island. And if you're playing green or any combination of green, you love to see the turn 1 Llanowar Elf. So you've got 2 mana on turn 2. Second island, good start. And Fellwar Stone, great ramp for the player on the right. And I've been tweaking this green-white deck for a while. And there's a Sylvan Library coming out, which I find Sylvan Library in Singleton to be an exceptional card. Games usually run a little bit slower. You could even afford to take the extra damage if you feel like you could win early. But I've been playing with this white-green deck a little bit, hoping to see it perform well. I don't see too many other people in the format using that color combination. And this is, I feel like I say this a lot of like, oh, it's my favorite card, it's my favorite card. This is a true classic here. The War Mammoth 3/3 with Trample. It's gonna get countered. And you gotta love how the original cards from Alpha are just a picture of an elephant. You don't need anything else than that. There's a Strip Mine. Let's see what he can do here. We have so far. Again, when I was playing this game, I have no idea what the opponent's deck is. People watching this have seen deck techs, but at the time wasn't clear. And that's a nice Preacher. There's a Safe Haven and then a Time Walk. I'm kind of losing count of how much mana he had with the mana drain. Yeah, he's going to take some mana burn there. Okay, so Safe Haven, land from the dark. Tap, cost 2 and tap to remove target creature you control from the game. So right off the bat, you see on that turn, he kind of showing one of his key strategies is to use Preacher, a 1/1 creature from the dark, to once you tap it, your opponent gets to choose which creature they give you control of. So here, I'm sure he wants to take control of my creatures with his Preacher and put them into the Safe Haven. And then you can untap Preacher and steal another. That's just super cool. I've actually never seen someone use. I've seen Preacher in Diamond Valley, so you could sacrifice creatures for land. I've never seen the Safe Haven combo, and he's going to go ahead and activate the Preacher, and I have no other choice but to give him the Mighty Llanowar Elf. And of course, a safe haven, you could pay 0 to sacrifice it to return all creatures it's removed from the game to their owner's control. So you can get the same thing if someone was to lightning bolt one of your creature, you could put them in the safe haven and bring them back out. Okay, and here's a Chaos Orb. And I always ask for people watching, like, what would you flip on here? Would you flip right away? Looks like, I believe I'm activating the Chaos Orb here, and he's gaining priority in response. Let's see. They got a bunch of mana. I don't know if the Fellor Stone is worth the target. Strip Mine, probably not worth the target. They're probably going to go for the Preacher or the Safe Haven here. Probably the Preacher. Okay, so there's a little just cut in the video. I think there was a long discussion if... The question was, in response to Chaos Orb, can he activate Safe Haven and put the Preacher in? The answer is he can. But then when I gain priority back, I'm going to flip on the Safe Haven. Now, Safe Haven is destroyed when creatures are in it, or exiled is what they are. They're lost, effectively. They're stuck in the exile forever. So there was a bunch of discussion that I cut out there where he decides not to activate Safe Haven. I've been on a little streak of my Chaos Orb flips. Okay. Preacher, just, yeah, especially when he's got the Safe Haven combo out. That combo just wrecks havoc. So I think flipping on the Preacher is a good one. There's an Air Elemental. It's a 4/4 flyer, which is quite strong in the format. Flying is a really good ability. I always love seeing cards like this that, you know, in today's Magic, would this even be printed or just be a trash common, but can do some real damage in old school. So that's the, oof, I'm blanking on the name. It's beautiful artwork by Mark Poole. That land card that comes in tapped, and it taps for white, or it can be sacrificed to add 2 white. I think I put it in this deck because it's a good card to get if you Armageddon. Gets you ramp quicker. So here comes a Witch Hunter. This is a real standout card in the deck. So it's a 1/1 from the dark. Can tap to do 1 damage to target player. So you can I usually just completely skip the attack phase with it. Just tap for 1 damage, or its real special build here is to pay 3 and return target creature to its owner's hand. So you know that Air Elemental's getting out of here, and he's going to strip mine the Mark Poole land, we'll call it, from Fallen Empires. So one thing my deck likes to do is to return creature to their hand, and then Armageddon so that they can't recast it. But even without Armageddon, Witch Hunter is a strong card. Here's another land drop, and we're gonna go ahead and return Air Elemental. I mean, at a minimum, you know, he's gonna have to use all of his, 5 mana to recast it, and it's gonna have Summoning Sickness, and we'll get him for 1 damage. So. Now, of course, he could Safe Haven it. And there's the Diamond. So there's your Preacher Diamond Valley. So he's got two land cards that combo with Preacher. It's pretty cool. So I also love Singleton because Preacher is such a huge threat. Doesn't really get used in regular old school too much. So we'll see. I feel like, in this game, I'm just kind of reacting to him. I don't really think I've been on the aggressor in the match. Here comes a Lurker. For some reason, in this, when I play this deck, I draw Lurker every single time. It's a 2/3 from the dark. Cannot be the target of any spells, unless Lurker was declared attacker or blocker this turn. So a form of hexproof, I guess you could say. So it can't be, paralyzed, unless it's tapped. It can't. what's another one? Spirit Link. You can't Spirit Link it unless it's attacked or blocked. So it has some protection against cards you see in the Singleton format. And it just looks cool. It's got cool art. I wish there was a way we could see the hands of the players here. Maybe one day I'll upgrade my setup to a second camera, but usually in these situations, like here, I feel pretty good with the Sylvan Library out. Like, if he's just gonna let me just keep digging for answers, that's okay. And I'm guessing he's wondering if he should cast Air Elemental. Is that the So it's gonna come back out, knowing it can just be pinged again by the Witch Hunter. So let's see what we do. I mean, assume you're gonna set to draw one off the library. Oh, and there's a Sarah that could block the Air Elemental. And yeah, here you see, I mean, Witch Hunter normally would, creature can't attack. He's got a 4/4 blocker, but I'm not sure why Witch Hunter has this ability just to tap and do damage. So you can't really block him. I'm gonna see if he could get another creature out. I mean, that'd be good, because then wouldn't be able to just return his only creature with Witch Hunter. Looks like a recall. So I think I remember here, I think with recall you have to discard cards. Right, choose and discard X cards from your hand to take X cards. So if you want to, he's attempting to time walk here. So you have to discard, if X is 1, you have to discard 2 to pull 1 out. And he only had 1 in hand, I think. So next turn, he'll draw another card he could throw out. Then he could discard 2 and pull the Time Walk wherever he wants back. So he's pulling back the recall. I remember what I heard was when this card first, back in Legends, the way people played it is they would discard the cards as part of the casting cost. So if it got countered, you just lost the cards you discarded. That makes it unplayable, really. I guess you could sideboard it in if your opponent doesn't have counter spells, but now it's after you cast it, then you after it resolves, you discard, which makes it why you see it so much more often. It's a good card. So we know there's a recall in his hand. Next turn, he'll have to discard, so we know a recall's coming up. Okay, so we're gonna return, assuming it's returning, Air Elemental. And he's gonna put the Air Elemental in the safe haven, and that's a doozy of a move, because here comes Armageddon, the real. This is a card that you read it and you're like, oh, that looks good. You destroy all lands, but when you actually play with it in a deck that, when it works with it, it's just this savage card, really. And made worse here that he put the Air Elemental in safe haven, which is a land, and so that Air Elemental is now exiled forever. It's just gone. And he's just gonna scoop the game. I don't think I've ever seen a scoop on the Armageddon. It's probably the best cast Armageddon. The issue with it in Singleton, I find playing with it, is that sometimes it's just like, if you're kind of losing, or if you're not really ahead, and you Armageddon, and then you're just kind of praying that you top deck better than your opponent, and I've definitely lost games doing that, where it felt like it was the only thing I could do, and I'll take a risk and then lose. So, again, when you have a Witch Hunter out, a Preacher out, and you Armageddon, or a Sylvan Library out, and you Armageddon, you're fine, but there are some tough spots with it, I've learned, but that was obviously, like, top-notch use of it, probably the best you could do. Here comes Diamond Valley again. So getting out, he's kind of ready for his Preacher if it comes out. Here again, I don't know who's shuffling these cards, but I get Lurker every match. There's an AO pile. You can sacrifice it to do 2 damage to any target. I'm actually a big fan of that Fallen Empire's card. Oh, and there it is. As we were talking about before, the good old War Mammoth 3/3 Trampler. And having the Trample is great, because then you just Giant Growth it, and you don't even need the Berserk. Any buff to it just makes it huge. And yeah, that's a really tough passing turn there, because he doesn't have any answers for these. I mean, just 5 damage just coming in. Oh, that's tough. So usually Singleton, the games can be, I don't say they're slog, they could be really long, as you kind of tit for tat, back for forth, fighting over the board state. At this point, he needs a balance here. The games never go this quick. This was like pretty much perfect ramping, right? A 3-drop, a 4-drop, a 5-drop. And he's got to discard a little tome. I think he's got 1 turn left then after this. So is balance the only card here that he could possibly top deck? I'm just going to throw out a book. Okay, so even if he does balance, at least I've got extra card draw coming. And that's it. I mean, this was... I did have a Giant Growth and a Divine Offering. I mean, that's a quick man. That was like the best case scenario for the white-green. And it's kind of what I wanted to do. It doesn't always click like that. It has some consistency issues, but it's fun to play, and it's a lot of cards like Lurkers and Witch Hunters that you normally don't see. So, yeah, the 7-point Singleton format continues to be, really fun, and something I want to keep building in the future.